crops worth more than gold and why most farmers never grow them? Most crops sell for just a few dollars per kilogram, but some plants sell for thousands. In fact, one of the crops in this video produces a spice so valuable that a single kilogram can sell for more than many precious metals. Yet most farmers have never seriously considered growing it. Today we're exploring 8 crops that quietly generate extraordinary income for farmers around the world and why most farms still ignore them. Some of these plants are hidden in plain sight. Others require conditions so specific that only a handful of regions on Earth can grow them. But all of them share one thing in common. The farmers who grow them earn far more per acre than most traditional farms ever will. The world's most valuable spice, saffron. This delicate purple flower produces the most expensive spice on earth, and the numbers behind it are almost unbelievable. Insight: saffron threads come from the stigma of the crocus flower, a tiny thread-like structure at the center of each bloom. To produce just 1 kilogram of saffron, farmers must hand harvest nearly 150,000 individual flowers. There is no machine that can do this work. Every thread is picked by hand, often before sunrise, because the flowers begin to wilt as soon as the sun rises. That level of labor, combined with the spice's intense flavor and color, is why saffron regularly sells for between $5,000 and $10,000 per kilogram on international markets. Gold trades for tens of thousands of dollars per kilogram. Saffron trades within that same conversation. From a flower. Transition. Saffron is harvested from flowers that bloom for just a few days each year. The next crop is completely different. It grows underground in silence for years. And in some Asian markets, a single mature root has sold for more than a luxury watch. The root that rewards patience. Ginseng. Some farmers wait 6 years before harvesting this plant. Not because they have to, but because the longer they wait, the more valuable it becomes. Insight: ginseng is one of the most prized plants in traditional herbal medicine, particularly across East Asian markets, where demand has remained strong for centuries. The root contains compounds believed to support energy, immunity, and mental clarity, making it a staple ingredient in supplements, teas, and tonics sold globally. But what makes ginseng genuinely remarkable as a crop is its pricing structure. Young roots sell for decent prices, but fully mature wild simulated roots, those grown for 6 or more years in carefully managed forest conditions, can command hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars per pound in specialty markets. Cultivation requires shade, careful soil management, and a patience that most commercial farming simply is not designed for. That patience is exactly what keeps most farmers away, and exactly what makes the reward so significant for those who stay. The transition. Waiting years for a harvest may seem extreme, but the next crop demands something even more unusual. A farmer who personally hand-pollinates every single flower, one at a time, within a window of just a few hours. The flavor behind the dessert industry: vanilla. Nearly every ice cream, pastry, and chocolate product on Earth relies on this flavor, yet the plant that produces it is so difficult to grow that global supply shortages happen regularly, and prices can double almost overnight. Insight: vanilla comes from a climbing orchid that in most farming regions has no natural pollinator. In Madagascar, which supplies the majority of the world's vanilla, every single flower must be pollinated by hand, using a small stick or toothpick, within a narrow window of just a few hours, on the single day the flowers open. They miss that window, and that flower produces nothing. After pollination, the beans take 9 months to mature on the vine, and then must go through a months-long curing process involving sweating, drying, and conditioning before they develop the familiar flavor and aroma. The result of all this labor is a product that regularly sells for hundreds of dollars per kilogram, and during supply shortages has spiked well above that. It is one of the most labor-intensive crops in agriculture, and one of the most consistently profitable. Transition. Vanilla thrives in tropical humidity. The next crop prefers something completely different: dry hillsides, open air, and endless purple fields. And its value isn't in the flower you can see. It's in the oil hidden inside it. The purple fields of essential oil lavender. When most people see lavender, they think of a pretty garden plant. Farmers who grow it commercially see something else entirely: a highly scalable oil crop feeding a global wellness industry worth billions. Insight: lavender oil is one of the most widely used ingredients in perfumes, cosmetics, skincare products, and aromatherapy. An industry that continues to grow as consumers invest more in personal wellness. The key to lavender's profitability is what happens after harvest. Fresh lavender sells for modest prices, but when the flowers are steam distilled into essential oil, the value per kilogram increases dramatically. 1 hectare of quality lavender typically produces between 20 and 80 kilograms of essential oil depending on variety and climate, oil that commands strong prices in both retail and wholesale markets. It is also a relatively forgiving crop, drought-tolerant, low in pest pressure, and well-suited to hillside or marginal land that might not support traditional food crops. For farmers with the right climate, it is one of the most straightforward high-value crops to scale. Transition. Lavender is profitable because of what's extracted from it. But the next crop is profitable because of something completely different. The fact that almost nobody in the world is actually selling the real version of it. The crop. Most people have never truly tasted wasabi. If you've eaten sushi and thought you tasted wasabi, there's a good chance you didn't. Experts estimate that most wasabi served worldwide isn't real wasabi at all. Insight. Most sushi restaurants serve a paste made from horseradish, mustard, and green food coloring, a substitute so widely used that most consumers have never tasted authentic wasabi in their lives. Real wasabi, Wasabi japonica, is one of the most difficult plants on earth to cultivate. It requires cool, clean, continuously flowing water, specific temperature ranges, and shade, conditions found naturally in only a handful of mountain stream environments, primarily in Japan. It also grows extremely slowly, taking up to 2 years to reach harvestable size. The combination of difficulty, rarity, and relentless demand from high-end restaurants means that authentic wasabi often sells for hundreds of dollars per kilogram at wholesale, significantly more at retail. Farmers who have successfully replicated the right growing conditions outside Japan than in parts of North America, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom have found a market almost entirely without competition. Transition. Wasabi is profitable because it's rare. The next plant is the opposite, as it grows almost everywhere, requires very little, and yet researchers have identified over 90 different nutrients and bioactive compounds in this single tree, the tree that feeds and earns moringa. Researchers have identified over 90 different nutrients and bioactive compounds in this single tree, more than most foods combined, and almost every part of it can be sold. Insight. Moringa oleifera is sometimes called the miracle tree, a title that for once the science tends to support. The leaves are rich in vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, making them a popular ingredient in health supplements, protein powders, and functional teas. The seeds can be pressed into a high-quality oil used in cosmetics and cooking. The seed cake left after pressing can be used to purify water. Even the pods are consumed as a vegetable in many parts of South Asia and Africa. This multi-product structure means moringa farmers often have several income streams from a single crop. The tree also grows fast, tolerates drought, thrives in poor soils, and begins producing leaves within months of planting, making it one of the most accessible high-value crops for farmers in warm climates. Global demand continues to rise as the health supplement market expands and consumers seek plant-based nutrition sources. Transition. Moringa earns from what people eat, but not every profitable plant ends up on a plate. Some are grown for an industry that has nothing to do with food, and everything to do with what people put on their skin. The plant powering a global skincare industry, aloe vera. The global aloe vera market is worth over $600 million. It is powered almost entirely by a plant that grows in poor soil, needs almost no water, and is still largely ignored by commercial farmers. Insight. Aloe vera gel is one of the most widely used raw ingredients in the cosmetics and skincare industry, found in moisturizers, sunscreens, wound treatments, shampoos, and health drinks sold across every major market on Earth. The plant itself is remarkably low maintenance. It thrives in arid conditions where other crops fail, requires minimal irrigation, and can be harvested repeatedly without replanting. The commercial opportunity lies in processing. Raw aloe leaves sell at modest prices, but farmers who invest in basic gel extraction equipment can multiply their revenue significantly, selling processed gel directly to cosmetic manufacturers, supplement companies, or direct-to-consumer health brands. As the global clean beauty and natural wellness movement continues to grow, demand for certified traceable aloe sourcing is increasing, creating real opportunity for smaller producers who can meet quality standards. Transition. Aloe vera taps into beauty. The final crop on this list taps into something even bigger, the global shift away from sugar and the search for something that tastes sweet without the consequences. The plant changing the sweetener industry, stevia. Consumers around the world are moving away from sugar, and the plant they're moving toward grows in ordinary fields, contains 0 calories, and is still in the early stages of its global expansion. Insight: Stevia rebaudiana is a small leafy plant whose leaves contain natural compounds called stevioglycosides that are anywhere from 200 to 400 times sweeter than sugar with no calories and no glycemic impact. It is now used in thousands of products, soft drinks, protein bars, yogurts, sauces, and pharmaceutical preparations as food companies reformulate recipes in response to sugar taxes and shifting consumer preferences. Global stevia demand has grown steadily for over a decade, and major food and beverage corporations have locked in long-term supply contracts with producers, a sign that this is not a passing trend but a structural shift in the global food industry. For farmers in suitable climates, stevia offers reliable contract-based demand, multiple harvests per year, and a market still expanding faster than supply can keep up with. 8 crops, each one profitable in a completely different way. Each one still largely overlooked by the majority of the world's farmers. These plants don't require more land. They don't require decades of experience. They simply require a different decision about what to grow. So here's the question worth thinking about. If a small field of saffron can outperform an entire wheat farm, if real wasabi sells into a market with almost no competition, if moringa earns from its leaves, its seeds, and its oil simultaneously, why aren't more farmers making the switch? Is it lack of knowledge? Fear of the risk involved, or are farmers simply too comfortable with what they've always grown? Leave your answer below, because the most interesting responses always come from people actually working the land.